a key ally of Havana. Venezuela has long supplied Cuba with crude oil, helping power its economy and electricity grid. The Trump administration has since stepped up seizures of tankers carrying sanctioned Venezuelan oil, deepening Cuba's fuel and power crisis. Cuba's leaders have rejected the pressure, saying the country has a sovereign right to import fuel without US interference, and insisted no foreign power can dictate its political choices. Matthew Wadham, who's an American journalist, now joins us from Washington, D.C. Matthew, thanks very much for joining us. What's the latest that you're picking up from Washington as far as actions on Cuba are concerned?
Well, not clear what the Trump administration is going to do about Cuba, but President Trump issued a threat on his social media site, Truth Social, saying that Cuba better get its act together, that Cuba better make a deal, his words, or it would face the consequences. We don't know what those consequences are, but Cuba should take it seriously, especially with the vast armada of U.S. forces that are parked off the shore of nearby Venezuela. It's not that far, to go from. It's not that difficult to go to sail those ships from Venezuela up to Cuba in the Caribbean Sea, and Cuba is under pressure to make a deal with the United States. Now, presumably, Cuba doesn't have any oil wealth. Cuba imports. It's the main source of its oil that it imports is Venezuela, and Venezuela is cut off. So it's not clear specifically what Trump is trying to get them to do, except maybe to disband the regime there, which the United States has been opposed to ever since it seized power in whenever that was, in 1959 or 1960. It has always been against the communist regime in Cuba, and maybe, and I suspect Trump wants the government there in Cuba to step down and allow democratic elections and to become a normal country again. Obviously, Cuba is resisting. It's not going to just do that on its own, but certainly Trump has ways of applying pressure to Cuba, and taking away their oil is certainly applying a lot of effective pressure to Cuba, and they're already hurting from this. They need the oil, and they have to have it somehow. So to feed what's left of their economy after after more than a half a century of a socialist economy. Cuba is a poor country. It used to be a wealthy country, used to have one of the highest living standards in the world, it was a very successful country. And then Fidel Castro took over, and it became an economic basket case where, tyranny abounds, people inform on their neighbors, and all the infrastructure is collapsing throughout the whole country, especially in places like the capital city of Havana. Buildings fall down there all the time from neglect, because the government can't run the country effectively, and it is falling apart. So, maybe Trump is offering a deal to allow these people to the dictator and the junta that controls the country to get out, and before he has to take some actions, which could be an invasion of Cuba, though that didn't turn out so well when President John F. Kennedy tried it in the early 1960s. But he could apply some sort of pressure, and it's not going to he could do military strikes against certain locations, It's not clear what those would consist of, but yeah, there are other ways that he can apply pressure. There are already sanctions in place against Cuba.
But how do you justify Trump acting as the big boss of all these less mightier nations?
Well, if they were peaceful, free countries, I might have a problem with it. But Venezuela and Cuba are not. They are, communist dictatorships
Yeah, but it's not
that
for Trump
brutally
to,
oppress
or
their
for the
brutally
US
oppress their.
to ensure law and order in those countries. Why is the
Well,
US acting as the international judge? And with whose authority?
I think you're phrasing the question, you're asking the wrong question. The U.S. doesn't need international authority. America is the world's preeminent superpower.
That
And
doesn't make it the international judge of any country, does it?
what you're asking,
Well, that's
you're
the
posing
criticism
you're
that's
posing
coming
it
in
like
from
it's
almost every other country in the world. So
Yeah.
the US will have to answer these tough questions.
No, it won't. No, it won't. The United States is not subject to any court. It doesn't recognize the authority of the International Criminal Court in The Hague. It does not have to answer these questions. It is a power unto itself, and it can do these things. If other countries don't like it, they can protest. They could launch their own embargoes. They could
All right, that's
complain.
an absolute
US does not
violation of
answer to
international